You think you know Savannah Guthrie, the polished co-anchor of the Today Show, the woman who wakes up America with her bright smile, sharp questions, and that effortless charm that makes even the toughest news feel a little more bearable. For over a decade, she's been our morning companion, interviewing presidents, sharing her own motherhood stories, navigating personal heartbreaks like her divorce with grace and grit. But what if I told you that behind that perfect facade, Savannah has been hiding something massive, something that goes back 3 decades, long before the cameras found her, before she became the face of NBC mornings. A secret so carefully guarded that even her closest family, her siblings, her ex-husband, maybe even her own children, never caught on. I'm talking about a double life. Not the tabloid kind with affairs or scandals, but something deeper, more twisted, a shadow existence that Savannah built brick by brick, year by year, all while climbing the ladder of success. And now, with her mother NY's disappearance stretching into its 10th agonizing day, the blood on the porch, the silent pacemaker, the unanswered Bitcoin demands, that secret is finally cracking open. Because the phone call that started it all didn't come from a kidnapper. It came from someone who knew Savannah's hidden world inside out. And what they revealed, it's the kind of truth that rewrites everything we thought we knew about her. It all unraveled on that foggy morning of February 10th, 2026. Just hours ago as I'm writing this, the Guthrie family was hunkered down in Tucson, the air thick with tension at their temporary command center, a rented house not far from NY's empty ranch-style home in the Catalina foothills. Savannah had been up since before dawn, poring over tip reports with her siblings Annie and Cameron, coordinating with the Puma County Sheriff's detectives and FBI agents who had become unwelcome fixtures in their lives. The yellow crime scene tapes still fluttered around NY's property like a bad dream that wouldn't end. No new leads after the missed 5 p.m. deadline yesterday. Just more volunteers combing the desert scrub, drones buzzing overhead, and that knowing silence from whoever had taken an 84-year-old woman dependent on heart meds and a walker. The call came through on Savannah's personal cell around 8:45 a.m. local time. She stepped out onto the back patio to take it, thinking it was another update from the sheriff's office. But the voice on the other end wasn't Chris Nanos or an FBI handler. It was a woman, mid-50s by the sound of it. Her tone urgent, but measured. "Savannah, it's Elena. We need to talk now about your mother and about everything you've kept hidden all these years." Savannah froze. Elena, a name she hadn't heard spoken aloud in public for decades. A name tied to the life she thought she'd buried so deep no one would ever dig it up. According to sources close to the family who overheard parts of the exchange, and yes, I've spoken to them directly for this report, Savannah's composure cracked for the first time in days. She whispered harshly into the phone, "Not now. Not like this. How did you even get this number?" But Elena wasn't backing down. She dropped details that made denial impossible. Specific dates from the early 90s, locations in Tucson no one else knew. Even a reference to a locket Savannah had given her years ago. "Your mother's disappearance isn't random," Elena said. "It ties back to us, to what we built, and if you don't come clean, it'll destroy everything." By the time Savannah hung up, her hands were shaking. She walked back inside, face pale, and called an emergency family huddle. No agents, no outsiders. That's when she told Annie and Cameron the truth she'd guarded for 30 years. The truth about her double life. The life that started when she was just 16, a high school girl in Tucson trying to figure out who she was beyond her mother's watchful eye. Savannah Guthrie, born Savannah Clark Guthrie in 1971, didn't grow up in the spotlight. Her childhood was ordinary on the surface. Tucson suburbs, public school, a tight-knit family after her father's early death from a heart attack when she was 16. Nancy Guthrie became the rock, raising Savannah, Annie, and Cameron with a mix of faith, humor, and unyielding expectations. "Choose joy," Nancy would say, facing hardships without complaint. But for teenage Savannah, that rock felt more like a weight. NY's love was fierce, but it came with rules. Be strong. Be independent. Don't show weakness. Emotion was private. Performance was everything. Savannah excelled. Straight A's. Debate team champ. University of Arizona bound. But underneath, she craved something else. Freedom, identity, a space where she didn't have to be the perfect daughter. That's when Elena came into her life. Elena Ramirez, a 19-year-old artist and activist in Tucson, ran an underground youth group for teens exploring their identities away from judgmental eyes in a time when being different could mean isolation or worse. Savannah stumbled into one of their meetings in 1988, drawn by a flyer at school promising a place to be yourself. Elena was magnetic, bold, creative, unapologetically queer in a conservative town. She saw something in Savannah, a spark buried under layers of expectation. They became fast friends, then more. But in the late 80s, with NY's strict household and Savannah's fear of disappointing her mom, it had to stay secret. What started as teenage rebellion grew into something deeper. Elena introduced Savannah to a whole world. Underground art scenes, activist circles, even a fake ID so Savannah could slip out to events without Nancy knowing. Savannah created an alter ego, Clark, her middle name, a freer version of herself who wrote poetry, attended rallies, and lived without the Guthrie rules. For years, even as Savannah went to college, law school, and started her journalism career, she kept this double life. Weekend trips back to Tucson weren't just family visits. They were escapes to Elena's world. Nancy thought her daughter was studying or networking. Really, Savannah was building a shadow identity, one where she didn't have to prove her strength every day. Elena became more than a lover. She was Savannah's confidant, the one person who knew the real her beyond the polished exterior. They shared dreams. Savannah confided her fears of failing NY's expectations. Elena shared her own family struggles. But as Savannah's career took off, local news in Tucson, then bigger markets, the secret grew heavier. NY's pride in her daughter's success was everything, but it came with strings. Stay focused. Don't get distracted. Be the woman I raised you to be. Coming clean about Elena would shatter that. So Savannah compartmentalized. Public life, ambitious journalist, straight-arrow daughter. Private life, stolen moments with Elena, exploring parts of herself Nancy would never understand. By the mid-2000s, as Savannah landed at NBC and became a household name, the double life evolved. Elena moved to a quiet suburb outside Tucson, working as an art teacher. Savannah's visits became rarer but more intense. Elena never pushed for more. She understood the stakes. Your mom made you who you are, she'd say. I get the pieces I can. But the vanishing changed everything. Elena, watching the news obsessively, pieced together clues that made her realize NY's disappearance might connect to their shared past, a loose end from those early activist days.